Welcome to the first and what will hopefully become a new series of videos that we like to call Tools of TEMU.
Think of it as people of Walmart, but for TEMU tools, and hopefully it's going to be useful stuff. They give us a $200 budget for each video, and I go through and find stuff that's interesting and unique and that might actually be useful. And of course, sometimes I impulse buy things like robot dog. So I want to be 100% transparent with you all. The reason why we're honestly doing this is because we get to review some cool, funky, weird tools and some weird, funky things, but this does also help cover the costs of all the dyno testing, the electric supercharger stuff that we do, and all the development work that we're doing. And you know, you're going to find something hopefully that's useful to you. So they do give us a small flat amount, which again, like I said, does help to offset the cost per video, but then they give us a $200 budget. And this is going to end up more squarely in Juan's world, because what you may not know about Juan, I don't think I've mentioned this, is that he is actually a college educated auto mechanic. Like that's what you went to school for, right?
I did.
And, you know, as proof of that, he's got like a $6,000 Autel scanner, which kind of impressed me the first time I saw that thing. But you've worked on literally, what, like hundreds of cars at this point?
Yeah, I've been a shade tree. I learned under my dad for years, and then I went to college for it because I liked it.
Yeah, and so he chose to do this instead of going to go get a real job as a mechanic. So this helps pay for that. So hopefully you're going to find this as enjoyable and, you know, keep Juan from having to get a real job. So having said that, there's not all of these things are necessarily going to be tools. Some of these things are things that we actually need. And we're going to start with this stainless steel merge that's right up at the front. Juan, if you'd be so kind. Frequent flyers on our channel will recognize the fact that we do a lot of electric supercharger testing. And lately we've been doing compound testing. And now we want to do parallel supercharger testing. It's kind of exciting because if you saw the video, if you haven't, go check it out. But we did a compound electric supercharger test where we hit around 900 flywheel horsepower, and we do the parallel test, I expect to be closer to 1,000. But towards that end, we're going to have to merge the two outlets together, and I can make it. I can TIG one up out of aluminum, but for like $17.88, TEMU happened to have a stainless merge. And that looks pretty tight, I'm not going to lie. It looks like it's fusion welded stainless, probably done with a TIG set on a pulse setting, if I had to guess. And the inside actually shows virtually no sugaring. There's not like massive penetration, but it's certainly solid. If you ran this on your exhaust, I expect it to last a good long time. You know, I like to see maybe a little bit more weld on there for exhaust purposes, but for ducting purposes, supercharger purposes, that's perfect. It's more than adequate, and it looks good. It's a good looking part. But that is technically not a tool, but for 18 bucks, like you're not gonna, you know, it's not even worth the time to make it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that may be ideal. So I may actually end up using that in that video, and I saw that and I was like, hey, let's do it. So that is my honest assessment of that thing. For our purposes, it's fantastic. For your purposes, it might work. But hey, so TEMU also does want us to mention multiple times that, you know, if you're a new user based on this video, there's a QR code that we're going to include, but you can get $100 off by including this code that we're going to put in the description below too on any of this stuff. So if there's something that you're like, hey, that's going to be useful to me, or if you just want a robot dog that shoots water pellets, you know, why not, right? But this is, like I said, largely going to be Juan's world. So Juan is going to be doing the reviews from his mechanic perspective, and we're going to go from there. Okay, we're sending Juan into the field to actually do the testing. I'm going to introduce these things. The first thing that I ordered was a simple plastic wrench organizer thing because, well, not all of my wrenches are organized. Most of them, but not all of them. And what's nice about these, I do have some that I actually don't use. And the reason why I don't use them is that they are sized. They're sort of, you know, it's sort of a triangular shape. And if your wrenches are not the right length, guess what? They don't fit. That's not the case with these guys. These guys just interlock, and there's 4 sets of 3, I think. 5 sets of 3, I tell a lie, and some really cool labels and all that, and plus singles. So most wrenches come in sets of like 7 or whatever. So there's your 7. Pretty straightforward, not rocket science, fairly inexpensive, functional. Oh, and they have magnets on the bottom to keep them in position in your tool chest. Doesn't suck, great, let's move on.
So right here we have 2 magnetic spark plug sockets. Now, as the name implies, they have magnets on the inside instead of a rubber insert. Now that's nice because sometimes when you're using a rubber insert on spark plugs, they can fall out. And from experience, they have. And one also nice thing is swivel. I can access it from any of these locations, and it's a very tight spot, so that's really handy to have. So let's get this thing off. Like that. And as we take this out, we'll do a little shake test and see if that magnet is strong enough to hold it. And here we go. Let's take this out. Let's do a little shake test. She's not coming out. These are pretty nice. They're thin. It's got a little knurling on the swivel and they do work. Honestly, I like these, so I give them my thumbs up. So next up, we have this relay tester. Now these can be good if you're a homeowner, you have a zero turn like you see here, working on your car. So if we put the positive on the positive clamp, put the negative on the negative clamp, boom. We're gonna get a voltage reading, so we know our battery's good. 12.6 is nominal voltage, we're at 12.8, so it's a little overcharged, but not by much, it's not a problem. And we have two relays right here. Now this can be common for most automotive applications or for like a starter relay on a zero turn. So you can do 4-pin, 5-pin, and you test. So we're gonna put this in, it has 5 pins. Gonna put it in there. Nice and neat in there, then we hit test. It's gonna cycle through like most relays do. It's gonna test its connection to see if it's strong enough to hold up. And this one is good. This is a good relay. Now, for purposes of testing, I do have one right here that I do know is bad, so we're gonna see what that does in this one. See if it reads accurately. And it shows bad, which is true. This is a bad relay. So yeah, this thing's nice. I do love that it has a voltage reading out in the front. Saves me a lot of time from grabbing a multimeter. This one gets my seal of approval. So this is the heavy gauge wire crimping tool with these copper ring electrical connections. Now these are good if you're gonna be working on your boat, car in general. And one thing to note about these is these are in millimeters. If you can see right there, it says SC25. Now what that means is that's 25 millimeters in metric, so that'd be about a 4 gauge in standard. So we have a 4 gauge wire right here. Honestly, not a terrible thing because when making wire crimp connections, you want as tight as you can be so you don't let any oxygen get in there to prevent oxidation. So as you see, I have this really tightly wound right here. And as I'm putting this on, I'm gonna try to go over as many wires as I can. So we're gonna put it this way down right there. And we're gonna have to put a decent amount of force behind this to get a solid crimp. So bear with me. And if I don't drop it like that, that should be a good one, but we'll give it another one just for safety. So if I hold it right there, maybe if I hold it this time, it won't move. And we can move this out of the way, get our crimp out. And that is a solid square piece of crimp right there. As you can see, there's no room left to breathe. Everything is completely compacted down. The benefit of this over a pneumatic one is you can strike as much as you want and as tight as you want, and they're very quick. You saw it took me 2 seconds to get this done. This one I'm a fan of as well, so I will be using this in some of my future projects. So what we have here is the latest fashion trend, the wrist-worn multimeter. As you can see, it's snazzy, ain't it? It's nice and rubber right here. It's got Type-C charging right there. So what I'm gonna be testing on is this Sketchtastic AC to DC battery charger that I have partially out of the outlet. Is it safe? No. Should you do this at home? Also no. Should I do this? For y'all, yes, but for me, I'm scared. So we're gonna get this turned on by holding the power button. And just so y'all can read it easier, I'm gonna turn on the backlight. So we have auto, DC voltage, AC voltage, DC millivolts, AC millivolts, and there's an ohm setting I'll get to in a second. So if we scarily go over here to this corner, we should be seeing about 121 AC voltage. That is right for a house outlet. So coming and testing the DC voltage, we are seeing 14 volts, and that is correct. Now they're on the wrong connectors, but that's okay because that just means the polarity is switched. So if I switch it around, we'll still see the same value, but just in a positive. Now if we let it reset back to auto, and we come over here to this relay, this is a 5-pin automotive relay that should be around 50 to, let's say 100 ohms is what they normally run. So if I go here, we're seeing about 96. Now it's a little high, but I can guarantee you this works because I pulled it off my truck, and if it didn't, I wouldn't get here, so yeah. And if we were to come over here again, there's another feature I want to show y'all. If we leave this in the positive, and we come and probe the negative, if we hold this button once, we get our voltage. It'll hold it at the value that it reads it at. This wearable multimeter is actually pretty nice, and it's comfortable, it works, and I can move it anywhere around my wrist, just so I can have it right there in my face. I like this one too. this one gets one thumbs up of approval. So here we have the 2-piece electrical disconnect set. So we're going to start with this one. This one you can think of as like a mini crowbar. It's got a hook side, a straight side, and they have these little tapers that go under the connector. So let's say we're going to take this coolant sensor off. So we take this spark plug boot off out of the way, and to get to that plug, we would have to push this down. And sometimes this can be really hard to push down and you have a chance of breaking them. To safely get it off, let's use the hook side, wrap it under there, wiggle it a little and pull up as we go. And it's off, just like that. Now this is really nice because I usually fight with these and use picks and screwdrivers when I'm working on vehicles. And it works, but I do hurt myself sometimes, so take my word for it. Next up we have this one. And this one looks a little different. These are more reminiscent of pliers, of course, which is good because this side bites around the back of the connector head and this one actually pushes down the pins. Now, this air sensor we have right here is a good example because it has 2 pins, and to push both of these down at the same time, that's kind of hard. But if we use this, wrap it around and push down, wiggle and pull out, it's like nothing. These are really handy to have around the shop if you do like to wrench on your mowers, on your cars, whatever you're working on. These are a great tool to have. So next up we have this oxygen sensor crowfoot tool. Now this one is a SAE 7/8 or a 22mm for your metric. So I already have this oxygen sensor off on my UTV to demonstrate to y'all how this works. This slit in the socket is for the oxygen sensor wires. Goes over right there. If I get my ratchet. Now this one is a 3/8 drive, so if I put it right there and pull towards me. Oh my God. Okay. There we go. And now our oxygen sensor is loose and we can take it off. A little wound up, but that's okay, that's mine. Oh, she is dirty actually. Oof. Now in a similar fashion, if we were to start putting this back on, we would slide this over, find a comfortable spot we can get leverage from, get a ratchet, and boom, she is tight again. No hassle. Having one of these can save you a lot of time if you like to work on your own truck or DIY on your own projects. This one also gets one thumbs up of approval. So having said that, let's get to the next tool. So what we have here is a wire holder for soldering. As the name implies, you don't have to hold the wires while you solder. It holds it for you with these little springs and these clamps. So we have 2 little pieces right here, and let's just butterfly them a little bit. So now that we have our wires butterflied, let's put them around each other. And now we have them together. Now normally if you didn't have one of these, you just leave it there and you'd prop it up on something just to, fuse the wires. And I don't want to do this because I don't want to mess up my flush cuts. So we'll grab this, stick one piece in there, stick another right there, and now we have something to hold it over. Now with our wires heated up, we can add some solder now. So if I hold it there, they're feeding and drooping over. I haven't soldered in a while, so please do not judge me. I need to get some more practice in personally. And there we go. Now that it's cooled down, I can take it out. Do not touch that when you're fresh done, it will be hot. But it does work, and I do like these since I don't have to hold the wire myself, it does it for me. So next up we have essentially the same thing, just in a plier form. It has a ratcheting mechanism so you can hold wires out pretty far or closer if you need. Now the way this one works is you just hold the wires under these tabs. Now I have one set up right here, so let's put it in and try it out. Let's open it a little bit. Let's put this one down under here, and this one down under here. Now if I were to close this, you can see it would start pushing it in. Now I don't need it that far, so I'm gonna put it right there. It's gonna sit comfortably on its lock, and I can just set it down, start soldering right away. So we're gonna preheat this wire a little bit. I'm not gonna use flux for this. Normally I would, but for demonstration purposes, this is fine. So now that the wire's heated up a little bit, we're gonna throw some solder on the tip of this, and then we're gonna start moving it around to fuse these wires together. Now that I've got a healthy amount, honestly probably a little too much, that's okay. We'll get the rest of it off right there. This is a little bit thicker solder than I'm used to, so that might be why. But as you see, now we have a fused wire thanks to these pliers. I'm not gonna touch it right now because it's hot, but there you go. And to take it out, you just lift up and pull, lift up and pull. And there's our fuse connection. These are both great, but they do have their uses. Personally, with this one, I would use this at a workbench setup, like at this table I'm at right now. And for this one, I would use on the job because it can just get a little bit tighter for those narrow spaces. And with the weight, I can just leave it there hanging and it'll hold the wires in any spot I put it, sideways, upright. This one though, I do like a lot more. It's nice metal construction, it's got rubber handles. Now here we have a 2-piece titanium coated tap and drill set. Now these are an M8 and M6. Now what these are for is they're supposed to, in theory, drill and tap some threads into those holes at the same time. Now I have an 1/8" piece of aluminum right here that I'm going to be drilling into. Now these do have a 1/4" hex drive, so they're meant to be used with an impact. What I have here, lock that in, and we're just going to try to drill in there. Should probably use a clamp, but I'll be fine, I think. I'm gonna go a little bit slow because I'm unsure. I've never used one of these personally, so. You can see inside that there are threads now. We get one of our bolts, try to check it. And let's do another one right next to it. And if we back it out, we have our M6 bolt right here, and we should be able to just start threading it in. Yeah, it threads in. So the tap does work as it goes down. There is a little bit of play in the thread, so it's not exactly an M6, it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so I did have to go off camera for a second because there's something I found out about these tap and drill bits, is there's something wrong with this M6 one. Now, this is a regular extension bit, and here's the impact. Once I put it in, it goes in and there's some play. It's supposed to be like that. But this M6 one that I just drilled these holes with doesn't. It gets stuck, and it doesn't lock in with the ball that's in the chuck right here. And it took a while on these wrenches and pliers to try to get it out. Now, I don't know why it's doing that, but this other M8 one doesn't seem to have that issue. I don't know if this was a machinist error, but this M6 one doesn't want to fit and will just get stuck. Now that is something that I'm not a terrible fan of because I don't know why it's doing it, and I had to take the time to take it out of the impact. It was stuck in there really good. Now, is that a problem? Yes and no. They do work, as you saw, they do drill, maybe a little loose, but this one just doesn't want to fit in the impact I'm using correctly, so that is a little bit of a deal breaker for me.
Since I have this old CNC controller to put back together, I figured I would do the electric screwdriver thing for one. I did actually have to get a new control board primarily so we could make more electric supercharger motor mounts. Here's the electric screwdriver. You push it, it pops out like this. Here's the screwdriver itself. It comes with a tweezer and some other tools like a spatula thing. Here, I'll just show you. Pointy tweezer, spatula thing, like prying open cases and stuff like that. Handy to have. In fact, I use this to remove well, you're gonna get to see it now because I shot the metal ring into the friggin' power supply. Let's go ahead and pull it out. So there you go. Does the job. Talk about handy and dumb luck all at the same time. A screwdriver like this, it's not gonna like torque out tight screws. That's not really what it's for. When you have a chassis like this with a ton of screws you need to drive in, this is really what it's for. So let's find our appropriate bit. There's actually a ton of bits in this thing, even some security bits. Torx, extended Torx, flat blades, Allen type bits, tons of them. Extended security bits. But let's just use a regular Phillips. I have not used this thing yet, so we're going to discover how hard this thing is to use together. That's actually a pretty good fit. So let's see. I have not read the manual. I don't know how to use this. Push this on. Oh, look, that turned on. Okay. Okay. In case you're wondering, let's see how much or how little torque this thing actually has. I'm going to try to unscrew this screw here on this one control IC or this motor driver IC. Nope, doesn't have it. However, it's strong enough to loosen by hand, and then you can just drive it out or drive it back in. There you go. But these things are very handy for stuff like this. And I need to reclaim the room here. Read the room, people. Read the room. Well, it has a little flashlight. I don't know if you can tell. Okay. Oh, it makes life so easy. There we go. Pros and cons. Pro is very small. Con, doesn't have a lot of torque. Pro, it looks good and it's well made. This appears to be like aluminum, I guess. Yeah, overall, it's not a bad screwdriver. Just know what it is. This is not an impact driver. This is not even one of those pistol grip type screwdrivers. That's not what it's for. It's for pulling small screws and stuff out of electronic chassis and boards and things where there's thousands of them. It saves you time, and it's good for that. It does have these cool little lights, and it doesn't spin when it's not under power, so you can actually use it to loosen screws. There you have it, the electric screwdriver.
So we're finally getting to the Fire Bullets pet. Now this is a robot dog that shoots little water absorbent pellets, as you see there. And I guess we just gotta open it. The box is a little messed up, that's all right. Smart Dog Multifunctioning Toy. Here are the little water absorbent balls. You leave these in water, I'm assuming for a couple hours. Yeah, and it has a phone app, we're gonna try that. So let's take this out. Funnel, beads, charger, and our Robo Dog. So now that the robot dog is all charged and ready to go, why don't we turn it on and see what it can do? Let's first turn it on. Okay. So he does wave hello, I guess, when you turn him on. That's really cool. So now that the robot dog has said it's hello, we have this little controller that shows us all of its buttons and presets that control it. And let's see, it tells us to sit down. Okay, I guess it needs to connect to it. There we go. And he does a little sit down gesture. Let's tell it to do a handstand. That's a handstand, yeah. Yeah. It's a little aggressive with it, but he does do a handstand. Okay. Let's tell it to give a handshake. Yeah. Okay, never mind. All right, let's Kung Fu. Okay. This guy knows what he's doing. He's trained. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That was really close, actually. He almost fell off. Now, we're going to be switching to the app that it told us to download and seeing how well, whenever I tell it to do something. Oh. That's new. And I want to see how fast the response time is on the app. So let's press start. I have the Rapid Dog Fire, so the one with the cannon on top. And it's going to start scanning for the robot dog. Okay, you know what? Let's try to turn the dog on and off. Says his little greeting, and there we go. So I guess with this one, you have to have it pairing before you turn the robot dog on, and it'll actually pick it up pretty quickly. And we have a bunch of different things: voice command, feeding, command, programming, and content. Now let's just go to see what feeding is. Oh, okay. So I guess we can feed our little robot dog different things. So let's give him some solar energy. He starts doing a little happy dance, I guess. We'll do like 2 of these. Let's see, petroleum. I guess that's what happens when you feed him petroleum. Let's go back out of this. Let's go to command. Now, this is the same setup that we have on the controller itself, as you see, but it's on the app. And let's see how fast it actually responds. So if I were to tell it to act cute, it's actually pretty responsive. It does immediately. Let's press pause, and he stops. So the app actually does work pretty well. It's pretty responsive, and I guess these are arrows to move it. So if I press it, he'll start walking, and okay. So he'll start walking until I tell him to stop, which is kind of cool actually. And let's see what else we got. Programming. Oh, I guess we can program its different legs. That's cool. That's something I'm not going to get into myself. Let's check out content. Okay, so you can do some dances, he has some stories, and he can play some music. So I won't do the music for copyright issues, so let's tell him to do a dance. Okay. 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 And he's done. If I'm not careful, I'm gonna drop this guy. So I guess next up, let's shoot some water pellets. So I do have some targets set up in the form of this little cup pyramid for our Overlord's dog to shoot. Why don't we try to load up his little cannon and then we'll start firing. Okay, oop, and I've made a mess. He's ready too. Fire. Fire. Ooh. And fire. And fire. And fire. And fire. And fire. And fire. Yeah!
So thanks for joining us on what's going to hopefully be a series of videos, but this is the first one called Tools of TEMU. And according to our contractual obligations with TEMU, one,
if you download the app, new users can get a $100 coupon code using our code KCD5784.
Yeah, so do what he said. What'd you think of this stuff?
That was really nice. I like some of the tools and some of them are really useful. Like you mentioned, I do automotive work and some of those I want to use for my own jobs that I do. And like especially the robot dog, I do want to keep that.
Juan gets the robot dog.
Yes.
All right, thanks. We'll see y'all later. That was kind of stupid at the end. I got one. I got an out. So here's your moment of robot dog. All right, okay, stop the roll.
Those weird, wacky, and sometimes useful tools of TEMU. Don't be mad at us, this helps pay for our other stuff. And a robot dog that shoots pellets from our AI overlord.
Okay.